Well, we can start again. Welcome again to the workshop. So we can start with the next presentation with Borut Berce from the Agricultural Institute of Slovenia. He's going to present the Links for Soils project funded by the Interreg Alpine Space. The Dr. Borut Berce is a soil scientist and university professor working on the Agricultural Institute of Slovenia. As a former soil surveyor, he has spent many years on soil mapping, collecting soil information, and dealing with soil quality. Nowadays, he's focused on soil ecosystem services and soil functions, soil threats such as soil organic matter decline, erosion, and soil contamination. He is leading the Department of Agroecology and Natural Resources, working on the European projects and teaching soils at several universities. Thank you, Borut, and the stage is set for you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. I will try to present the project. I hope you see the slide. Is everything okay?
No, not yet.
So just a moment. Is now fine?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, perfect.
So excellent. Thank you for this opportunity to present the Links for Soil project. It is not a scientific project. It is more or less awareness raising. So an Interreg project of the Alpine Space Program. There was quite an important project background. So the soil protection and management and sustainable management of natural resources and climate change adaptation. These are the main topics behind. It is also important that we all live in Alps. I'm speaking on behalf of partners from several Alpine countries. So a common living area, quite special, and where we face similar soil threats. And so far, there is quite a little cross-border cooperation on soil protection. So we are missing links between expert authorities, NGOs, all of them, they should know better each other and cooperate in terms of cross-border soil protection. There is another very important fact that the Alpine countries joined in the Alpine Convention. Actually, all of them adopted and ratified the Soil Conservation Protocol of the Alpine Convention. Well, we have difficulties in implementation of this Soil Conservation Protocol. So the concrete soil protection and sustainable management is quite behind, but it has to be implemented on local level and regional levels. The Alpine Convention is financed by the member countries. So I'm speaking for France, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Slovenia, and Italy. This is the protocol of the soil conservation. And there is also a very important fact that very little is known in wide public about soils and what the soil provides for our living on terrestrial ecosystems. So in general, we speak a lot about climate change adaptation, environment protection, nature conservation, all these facts, but soils is not mentioned, although it is all in the middle of all these activities. So what we have to do is to raise awareness, show how to and what are the possibility to protect soil, and of course we have to form communities dedicated to better soil management. There is very little that can be done without appropriate soil information. So what we are facing nowadays is the soil data found to be too technical. It is very difficult to understand on one hand, and on another hand, there are very few soil experts around. So authorities on local, regional level, they miss expertise in terms to interpret and give the information for better nature protection, soil protection, and resource saving. What is needed is not the so-called public truth, but more or less a holistic information. So interdisciplinary approach needs to be taken. The overall objectives of the Links for Soils project were to link and utilize the soil knowledge present in Alpine countries, to link and to mobilize local and regional authorities, to establish transborder contacts in terms of soil protection activities, strengthen the cooperation between the experts and end users in local communities, on the regional level, and especially to raise awareness on soil and the need of sustainable soil management. And all of this can contribute to climate change adaptation and mitigation. The concrete steps need to be taken towards better implementation of existing international law, and of course to boost this sustainable soil management and protection activities in member countries. The project partners are coming from 5 countries, but Switzerland. We also have quite important observers in Alps, from the Alpine Convention to European Land and Soil Alliance, CIPRA, US Alp Action Group 6, and of course the Interrex Alpine Space Program, as well as the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. We are not linking just to agriculture and forestry sector, but also to planning or urban planning sector, nature disaster prevention, environment protection, and tourism. All this sector can do a part of their job in terms of contribution to climate change mitigation and adaptation. Key Links for Soils project results, they were actually 2 major results. The first one was the Alpine Soil Platform. It is a web node, and the second one is the Alpine Soil Partnership. These 2 major deliverables are accompanied by a number of technical deliverables, and all of them have the focus on dissemination and creation of best practices on soil management and cooperation on international and national level. So what we did was that we identified and collected and we are sharing the links toward the existing soil information in all 5-6 countries. Allow me a few words about the Alpine Soil Platform. This is the web node where users can access the good soil management practices. They can get information about the Alpine soils, what and where certain soil information is available. This is the node where we can get and share knowledge, expertise, and how-to procedures. Of course, the node gives us the opportunity to know each of us better, to establish cross-border links. We have also the application that organizations or people can communicate, can ask questions to soil experts and give the assistance. Of course, it is also important to give the private consultancies to some business opportunities to participate in soil protection activities. The main platform exists in English, but also it was created and modified and fine-tuned to national needs in Italian, in Slovene, in French, German for Austria and Germany. So all these web pages are quite populated with information and downloadable products. There is actually very few initiatives on soil protection on the level of NGOs and also on national levels. Although the situation is improving under the umbrella of the FAO, I'm speaking about the Global Soil Partnership and the European Soil Partnership, we decided to create a community of dedicated organizations and individuals that are keen to participate to better soil protection. So we formed the Alpine Soil Partnership. This is a regional, a bottom-up initiative complementary to the Global Soil Partnership and European Soil Partnership program. So it is completely voluntary, and the organization is adapted to local regional decision makers that need to communicate between themselves. The program fits very well to the European Soil Partnership pillars, which is the soil management, awareness raising, research, information and data, and harmonization. So the first, second, and the fourth pillars are much more presented in our activities. I mean, the activities of the Alpine Soil Partnership. We do significantly less in terms of research and harmonization, because this is not our focus. Very important results of the project and of the Alpine Soil Partnership activities was the formation of the Soil Protection Working Group of the Alpine Convention. What happened? The Alpine Convention, financed by the member states, identified the very strong need to create a working group that will dedicate efforts and that will harmonize the activities on soil protection in the Alps. Such a result was not expected at the beginning of the project, so we are very pleased to achieve this also with the help of other organizations. Also, during the project implementation, there was a declaration that is supporting soil protection adopted by EUSALP in November 2018. The EUSALP is an organization that harmonizes the European activities in the Alpine countries. So the declaration on sustainable land use and soil protection pushed forward the very strong need to protect this precious natural resource in the Alps. I would like to switch to some soil awareness raising deliverables that were very welcomed by our stakeholders and general audience. We published a book on soil ecosystem services where we are explaining what soil offers to us in a very plain language for non-experts, but still the book is based on scientific findings. The book is available in English, in Italian, and will be available in a month or two in Slovene language. A pocket book with key facts on soil ecosystem services, then a quite thick best practice book dedicated to good practices of soil protection in all Alpine countries. This is available in English and in Slovene, and hopefully it will be translated also to other languages. These best practices are actually dedicated to local authorities to learn from each other where to go, in which direction to push forward for better soil protection and sustainable management.
Two minutes
quite
work.
interesting was the leaflet Soil Etiquette in 5 languages, where we explain what should we do and what we should avoid in different sectors, agriculture, forestry, nature disaster protection, nature protection, tourism, and planning. So what is good and what is bad in terms of soils. At the beginning, we were not planning to establish these logos of soil ecosystem services, but they were found very interesting. So a kind of tags and brands explaining what the soil does, what kind of services the soil performs to us in terms of nature and environment cycles. As you see, we have here the carbon sequestration, the climate regulation, filtration of water, nutrient cycles, biodiversity, soils as habitat. This is widely unknown topic still. Of course, agriculture, forest, water retention, and erosion regulation. We produced quite some films that are available on the web, on the soil platform, explaining what is good and what is bad and what soil does to us. A calendar for 2020, very nice soil profiles from the Alps, and of course explaining some soil ecosystem services of each particular profile. And what was very much appreciated from our stakeholder was the International Soil Summer School. That means that students from secondary level schools from Italy, Liechtenstein, Slovenia joined to the youth parliament of the Alpine Convention organization, and they participated to this summer school where we were digging soil profiles and exploring soil properties and explaining the soil ecosystem services and the importance of the fact that soil needs some protection. So during the project, we learned some lessons. Of course, the first one, that we have to go local, that we link to local activities to global problems, so think globally, act locally. We learned also that we need to talk to people, to be very direct and to show them the existing problems in relation to soil, climate change, food security, environment protection, and of course, not just to make them scared, but also to show them the ways where to go and to give them potential solutions. Of course, we also have to always ask them what they can do by themselves. And we found out also that it is very important to make people proud of being aware and being interested in soil topic, especially that they should take care of soil as something very, very important. At the same time, we found, as usual, that it is quite challenging to offer scientific knowledge in plain language. Of course, people, they get very tired very soon when we want to give certain complicated, more or less complicated information. We are always competing with other media, with other problems, with other focuses. So everybody is competing for time and the attention of the people. Of course, we need to make our products interesting, appealing, nice, in order to be appreciated. So that's where we spend quite some time. And especially what we found out, of course, we all communicate in English, which is not our mother language. So we are facing sometimes problems in this way, especially the local communities, the local administration. They prefer that they are addressed in their own language. So using national language is a key thing to better disseminate knowledge and to draw attention on the topic we would like to be understood. So this is basically a very short journey through the Links for Soils project, which has ended 2 months ago. We are just delivering now the final reports, and we are hoping to continue with this soil awareness and our soil research activities in the future as well. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Borat.
Thanks a lot, Borut, for your very nice presentation. As you say, you have to do actions locally, but thinking globally, and I think you have done very well in that way. You have developed a lot of nice documents and a lot of videos trying to, as you say, trying to explain much better how soils are and how soil functions perform and how ecosystem services depend on soils. So people here in the audience, we of course have the references to look at those documents, so we can learn a lot from that. And now maybe we have just time for one question. So there are several questions in the chat, so I have to choose one or two at last. At all. One of the questions is from Vanessa Sanchez, who was the first speaker from the Global Nature Foundation, and the question is, could you from Alpine Space make policy incidents on the Common Agricultural Policy post-2020?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, of course, sorry. Could you from Alpine Space make policy incidents on the Common Agricultural Policy post-2020? If some of the ideas or some of the conclusions you have developed in the project can be transferred to the Common Agricultural Policy that is coming now?
Well, we are hoping for that. Especially, we are quite sure that the Alpine Convention as the umbrella organization in Alpine countries, as well as the US Alp Work Group 6, they will push these findings and deliverables. They will implement them somehow in the agriculture policy on the EU level for such environments like the Alps are.
Okay, thank you, Borut. We don't have now time for more questions, but for sure we can maybe share your address or your email and post some of the questions to you to answer to the people, because there are a few more.
I will be happy to answer any question or give some additional information on the project or any other topic relation to soil activities. Thank you very much again for your kind invitation.
Thanks to you. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, Borut. Thanks, Gerardo. Let's move on to the next presentation. That is the NovaAgriMed project that is going to be presented by Jean-Paul Pellissier from the Mediterranean Agronomic Institute of Montpellier. Jean-Paul Pellissier is the Deputy Manager of the Mediterranean Agronomic Institute of Montpellier, which belongs to the FIAM, an international organization working in the field of agriculture and rural development throughout the Mediterranean area. Jean-Paul Pellissier works on agricultural and rural policies with a focus on local governance, art-based economy, and new resource-efficient value chains. He co-managed the NovaAgriMed project from April 2009 to March 2011. Jean-Paul. I can't hear you, Jean-Paul. Please switch on your microphone.
Sorry. So,
okay.
Good morning to everyone. First, I just would like to thank the Necker Institute to give me the opportunity to speak about NovaAgriMed project, and in particular because it's not really a project who focused on climate change, but more on how we can push some new forms of governance, of a strategy to deal with some main concern about the Mediterranean agriculture. And so the links was not so evident. And so thanks again for giving me this opportunity. I tried to share is it okay? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, but put it in full screen, please.
It's full screen.
No, we don't see it in full screen. When you click on share, then click it on a screen, share a screen.
I try.
Il faut d'abord le mettre plein écran avant de le partager.
Okay. Right. Try again. Try. Sorry for this. Okay. Here. That's right now.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's okay?
Yeah, it is.
It is or it was? It was. Okay,
No.
here.
Okay.
Now.
Fine. Okay. So I will give you a quick presentation of the NovaAgriMed project through the foundation of the project, the partnership, the action implemented, methodology, and at the end, what are the lessons I can present here in the framework of the CCC project. So, when we thought about this project, we refer to four main findings on Mediterranean agriculture. The diversity and uniqueness of this agricultural space, with a lot of variety of production, of landscape, of way to organize and to manage the production, but also the great difficulty to valorize all these assets, with a lack of competitiveness of the product and less sustainability of many productive systems. And as a consequence, the continuous job loss in the agricultural and food processing sector. This is the main elements that are the basis of the project. And we also have two convictions: that the local authority, and in particular the regional authorities, have to play a central role in the formulation and the implementation of supporting policy, of strategy that could help go on overcoming the constraints. And that this supporting policy must adopt more holistic approaches, integrating agriculture in a more global, resource-efficient economic model. And these are the elements that make the partner propose the NovaAgriMed project, which objective is to support regional authorities in the implementation of innovative and collective action to favor the competitiveness and the sustainability of the Mediterranean agricultural sector. The partnership was organized with 5 regions of South Europe: the region South Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur in France, the region of Murcia in Spain, of Sardinia in Italy, and the region of Pugliato in Italy, and the region of Thessaly in Greece, with an advisory partner, which is the SIAM Montpellier, which is our institute, which was the only partner who do not work in a specific territory, but work for the benefit of all the other partners. And this project was managed from 2009 to 2012, so it's quite an old project. But I think that the output of this project keeps a great actuality today. The implementation of the project follow a progress. We do not decide of the actions before the project in the formulation of the project, and this was one of the difficulties, because very often the authority of the programs want to have a lot of detail on what are the action we will go with during the project. And the idea was to say, no, we will decide the action at the beginning of the project in a specific process of working with stakeholders, with the partners, and to identify what are the most relevant action we have to go with. So there was a first phase to collect the information and to decide what are the action that refer to a collective and general concern and that interest all the partners and the stakeholders of the territory. And then this action were implemented, and the main output of the project should be the formulation of policy and recommendation papers around the future of the Mediterranean agriculture. And if I can tell this, it's a process that is quite similar to the one which is mobilized under the Interreg Europe program. That in this program we have to build the project in two phases. A first phase where the partner, the stakeholder of the territory have to exchange their experience, to organize cross-visit, exchange of good practices, and on this basis an action plan is formulated which is implemented in a second phase, and we follow more or less the same process. The action that were identified to be implemented by the partner can be grouped in three themes that reflect the challenge of the Mediterranean agriculture. The first challenge is a productive agricultural sector that contributes to the environmental challenges, and here we can add the climate change challenges. But in the Nova Agreement project, even if climate change was a concern, we did not specifically address it. It was included in the environmental challenges. And we identified three main actions under this theme, which are the valorization of agricultural waste, with a result that was to establish a concept of agro-energetic district, which tried to manage to include the agricultural sectors in the issue of how to produce clean energy, but avoiding the competition for agriculture between producing food and producing energy, but to deepen the opportunity for agriculture to be part of the production of green and local energy, but without lowering its capacity to produce food. The second, quite classical, was the management of water resources. But in this case, we address specifically the governance of the sector to highlight the great variety of the governance models that exist in the Mediterranean area. And the third point was on how agriculture could be more environmentally friendly, and we make a focus on organic agriculture. Second theme was on how the agricultural sector can benefit from the specificity of the Mediterranean area with a free action, one on integrated development of rural territory, and we developed the concept of bio-itineraries that makes the agriculture with tourism concern. The second one was the relevance of the labels and the territorial marketing. And the third one was the adaptation of Mediterranean product to cope with changing consumer demands. And this was for each of this action, the important was how we can connect agriculture to other actors of the sectors, from other economic sectors to the consumer and the population. And at the end, the main, the transversal theme was the position of the regional authorities as driver for the change. When we work on the identification and the formulation of the action of the program, we decide to have a grid to select the action. And for the partners, the action must fill in some conditions, which are that they must be structuring for the territory. This means that they must create new opportunity. They must organize synergies among actors, and also create new relation among actors. They must be innovative, collective. This is very important. The idea was that the project must help to create new network among actors, and that they must be organized and think with the population. This must also be operational, must be used as example for the other territories of the Mediterranean. And in fact, this is one of the basics of the project, that they must be territory based. They must produce added values for the territories and for the actors of the territories. In the identification of this action, exchange of good practice, dialogue among partners and stakeholders was very important. It's a basis for the Interreg program, but really we see that such approach is very productive, because it gives new ideas. It helps people to go through their ideas using the experiences of others. And at the end, the implementation of the actions must fit the final policy paper. So what are the main lessons we can share with CCC project regarding the Nova Agreement experience? As I told you, it was not a climate change project, but we tried to address a global challenge. In the case of Nova Agreement, it was how we can think the future, we can work for a more competitive and environmentally friendly agriculture for the Mediterranean. And we try to adopt an holistic approach, taking into consideration the links of the agriculture with all the other economic sectors, with the environmental approach and the new social demands and behaviors, and making the agriculture part of a more global system. And I think that the lessons we can identify at the end of the project, but it's quite an old project. I said it before, but I think that the element we are dealing with are fully actual today. The first one is the relevance of the territory-based approach to address global challenge. This is the local level is a very operational level to work on global concern.
2 minutes.
Okay, I think it will be okay. The importance of developing holistic area-based policy project that could organize the synergy among all the actors of the territory. And I think that we work on this in another project on food waste, and how food waste could be linked with a lot of other concern. And I think that the climate change challenge is exactly the same challenge that we have to address in an holistic way. And today, such global approach are quite difficult to implement, because a lot of programs request more very focused project, and it's difficult to say, oh, we will address this challenge, but through a global approach. The first thing is that to consider the richness of the local territory. Whatever are the subject, there are a lot of people that are doing a lot of things that are very interesting skills and competency, and we must consider this as a starting point for the action. And in this regard, the local authority played a role of the chef d'orchestre. They have to structure, to network, to publicize, to scale up the local initiative, to organize them, to make them more efficient, more visible, and this could be turned into policy and regional, local policy and strategy. The importance of exchange of experience and good practice, I have already told this, and also because it's for me it's something we miss in the Nova Agreement project, is the time for sharing the results, for exchanging on the output, and in particular with the managing authority of the program and with policymakers. In Nova Agreement, we work on the action. We go on at the local level, but at the end of the project, I think that we have a lot of things, a strong reflection on all the subject I presented, but we didn't reach to well communicate on this. And in this regard, it's a real pleasure that Nova Agreement has take the attention of the CCC project, because perhaps by this way we can go on this valorization of the results of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm on time.
Yes, thank you, Jean-Paul, for sharing all the objectives of your project and all the results you have got in many different areas. No, that as you say, you have to, in a given area, you have to have like a holistic approach and to work with stakeholders, with policymakers, and we are glad with the lessons you have learned from your project that know that will be very useful for all of us. I don't have any question in the chat yet, so I would like to ask you one question. As you say, there are advantages working with integrating multiple dimensions of the agricultural sector and involving many different partners from several countries. There are advantages in working like that. As you mentioned also that there are difficulties because now those type of projects don't fit into any given program just to apply again for an extension of these projects. So what would you say is the best you got from working in a so broad environment with so many partners and so many countries?
I think that there's a great added value to exchange, to take time to work together and see how what are the other relevant experience, and this process gives new ideas. So if you have a project that is too narrow in his objective, you can't valorize all the products of this exchange of experience, of this dialogue among actors. And experience are various all along the Europe territory, the Europe area, and so it's really important to be able to take advantages of all this innovative action that exists.
Okay, thank you. And just a very, very quick question from Jean-François Bertomeu. Do you got another project after this project on the same direction?
No, unfortunately not. We try to have one. We formulate a proposal, but unfortunately we do not succeed. So we can go through the result of Nova Agreement. In particular, we present a project on the agro-energetic district. Because for us it was very innovative, but we did not succeed. But we try to have, in many of the projects we manage, we try to have the same approach, with a strong dialogue with the local stakeholders, and to have a common progress in the setting up of the action, which are the result of a real dialogue with actors.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jean-Paul.
Thank you
for your presentation and answering the questions. So now it's time for getting into the next speaker. Thank you, Jean-Paul.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Thank you, Gerardo. Well, only two projects are left. So, well, the next project is Irriman Life Plus project, presented by Alejandro Pérez Pastor from the Polytechnic University of Cartagena. Alejandro is a full professor at the Technical University of Cartagena in the area of plant production. His main research topics are deficit irrigation, scheduling crops, water relation in fruit trees, plant-based sensing for irrigation scheduling, and deficit irrigation and fruit quality. Alejandro is a professor in 3 masters and 1 bachelor's program at University of Cartagena and Miguel Hernández in Elche, and he's member of the editorial committee of the Journal of Horticultural Science and Biotechnology. He has led and participated in 7 research projects and 7 contracts with companies for the last 5 years. Alejandro, thank you.
Thank you very much for this invitation to participate in this workshop. Congratulations for this workshop. It's very interesting. I think that the presentation is good. No, it's okay. Okay. The title of the project, Irriman, is implementation of efficient irrigation management for a sustainable agriculture. The project partners were the Technical University of Cartagena as the coordinator of the project, the University of Córdoba, the Spanish Scientific Council, CEBAS-TESIC, the Government of Murcia, represented by the Department of Agriculture and Water, the Irrigator Community of Genil Cabra in Córdoba region, and the Spanish Federation of Irrigators Community included in the Mediterranean Irrigators Community. The main objective of this project was to implement, demonstrate, and disseminate a sustainable irrigation strategy based on deficit irrigation to promote its large-scale acceptance and use in woody crops in Mediterranean conditions. The project was developed in 3 irrigators communities, 2 of them located in Murcia region, as you can see, Campotejar y Molina de Segura and Miraflores in Jumilla, in the north of the region, and the other in the Andalusia region, Genil Cabra. Different cropping zones were selected in each irrigator community with the most representative fruit trees. In these sites, a demonstrative plot per crop was monitored in order to establish the protocols of sustainable irrigation, which were extrapolated to the rest of the irrigation community. Then, the specific objectives were to implement sustainable irrigation in demonstrative plots in woody crops, the most representative crops in the areas. Different soil, water, and environmental indicators were selected to define the irrigation strategy and increasing the water productivity and water use efficiency, of course. But always controlling the water stress level applied in the non-critical period of the crop when a regulated deficit irrigation RDA strategy was applied. To extrapolate the irrigation scheduling to the total surface of the demonstration farms, commercial sources, and the rest of the irrigation community, to study the agronomical and physiological response of the crops by using precision tools for measuring the soil and plant water status and the influence of system irrigation on crop yield and fruit quality. To validate the decrease of deficit irrigation on water consumption, water leaching, soil and water pollution by nitrates, soil CO2 and N2O release and energy use, to disseminate and transfer knowledge at regional, national, and European level by means of public information adapted to different stakeholders. This aspect gives the project a demonstrative character linked to the fact that there are irrigators community involved in the project, which are the final users of the results, with the dissemination among irrigators, farmers, and companies. Even the participation of the Government of Murcia, Department of Agriculture and Water, was very, very important for us. The results shown in this presentation correspond only to those obtained in the irrigators community of Campo Cartagena in Murcia region. 5 commercial farms were in the most representative crops: nectarine, apricot, peach, plantain, and table grapes were monitored. The demonstrative plots, the P was divided in different irrigation treatments: control irrigated at 100% of ETC, maximum crop evapotranspiration during the whole season in order to avoid limiting soil water limitations, a farmer treatment irrigated under farmer criteria, and the third one, a regulated deficit irrigation treatment irrigated as the control during the critical periods in stone fruit trees, peach, apricot, plantain, nectarine trees, the third fruit growth stage, and 2 months after harvest approximately, and irrigated at 60% approximately of control during the non-critical period in stone fruit trees, the first and second fruit growth stage, and late post-harvest period from approximately, of course, July until the end of the growing season. And for table grapes, during the deficit irrigation was applied during the post-peration period. The irrigation was scheduled during this deficit irrigation in both crops to maintain the water stress level around minus 1.5 megapascal of stem water potential at midday in stone fruit trees, and maintain a difference of around 0.8 megapascal with respect to the control trees of stem water potential in table grapes. Each demonstration plot was monitored with FDR probes and LVDT sensor to measure the fluctuation of the trunk during the day, to measure the soil and plant water status respectively. Also, measurements of the growth, crop yield, and quality parameters was also measured. In the following slides, we are going to present the results obtained for each crop studied in the Campo Tejar irrigation community. In all of them, this is the structure of the different graphs that we are going to present, to show. In all of them, we show the evolution of the plant water indicators measured, such as the stem water potential measured at midday. This is the evolution in 1 year and second year. And the maximum daily trunk shrinkage obtained by the LVDT sensor, and the water applied every week and accumulated for each treatment. In case of extra early nectarine trees, the regulated deficit irrigation, the RDA treatment, applied in the late post-harvest period only, promoted a water saving that ranged from 28 to 35% with respect to the control trees, maintaining the water stress level of around minus 1.5 megapascal of stem water potential at midday during the 2 years. Without affecting, that we can see in this table, without affecting negatively the yield and the number of tree fruits, and of course the fruit quality. We can see that the water use efficiency in this table always was higher in the RDA treatment with respect to the control. In this way, it was possible to obtain, with the data from these 2 years and others obtaining in the previous year in the same crop, as we can see in this figure during 5 years before this experiment, a weekly sustainable irrigation protocol, which ranges for an application of irrigation water from 400 to 700 millimeters per growing season. We can see that the water applied weekly in meters cubic per hectare and week. In case of the plateauing in early plateauing trees, the regulated deficit irrigation, the RDA treatment applied in the first and the second fruit growth stage, and during the late post-harvest period, promoted a water saving around 34% with respect to the control trees, maintaining the water stress level in the same values, threshold values, and the previous crop, around minus 1.5 megapascal of stem water potential at midday, as we can see in this graph, without affecting, that we can see in the table, affecting negatively to the yield and fruit quality. Even the water use efficiency was higher in the RDA treatment with respect to the control. Then it was possible to obtain, with the data of these years, a weekly sustainable irrigation protocol which ranges for an application of irrigation water from 400 to 650 millimeters per growing season. In case of table grapes, the RDA treatment applied after post-variation period promoted a water saving that ranged from 25 to 35 with respect to the control, maintaining a difference around 0.8 megapascal of stem water potential with respect to control. The blue symbols are the control and the red symbols are the RDA treatment, without affecting in the 3 years, without affecting the yield and fruit quality in the 3 years studied, as we can see in this table. Then it was possible to obtain with this data from this year and another previous year in the other orchard with this same crop, a weekly sustainable irrigation protocol which ranges from 40 and 50%, 450 millimeters to 650 millimeters. This is the values of the range of the availability of the water. For the last, in the case of peach trees, the FDA treatment applied in the first and the second fruit product stage and during the late post-harvest period promoted a water saving that ranged from 11 to 30% with respect to control, maintaining, as said before, a water stress level around minus 1.5 megapascal at midday of the stem water potential, without affecting the yield and fruit quality in the 2 years study. Well,
two minutes,
yes. Then it was possible to obtain, with the data from these years, a weekly sustainable irrigation protocol which ranges from 400 to 700 millimeters per growing season. With respect to the CO2 emissions measurements from the soil, it was found that in all crops, the soil CO2 emission was reduced when the deficit irrigation was applied. As we can see in this graph, when the soil water content decreased, when applying strategies of LDA treatment, it produced a decrease of the soil CO2 emissions due to the decrease of soil water content. This graph shows the annual average of the reduction of applied water, CO2 emissions from the soil, and energy use. The data range, as you can see, from 12 to 30% decrease for all crops and during the whole project. The previous sustainable irrigation protocols were disseminated through the website of the project, through weekly reports, which were uploaded to a viewer of a geographic information system. And also, these protocols were disseminated through a free mobile application in which the farmer can add the several characteristics of the farm. For example, a number of trees per hectare, number of trippers, flow rate of the trippers, and even the climatology, the actual climatology of the closest climatic station of the government of Murcia, and obtaining the amount of irrigation for different availability of water according to the protocol obtained. Also, we designed a comic for the younger people, We can see the name of hero every month, and I think this was possible for dissemination these strategies. This is the website, and of course, thanks to everyone who has worked on this project, and thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Alejandro, for your very clear explanations on how controlled deficit irrigation has produced benefits saving water in a region that I guess is with a low water condition, let's say. And you have also shown that the quality of the produce is as good as it could be with the whole amount of water used. I have a couple of questions for you. One from Eno Hull, former speakers. He asks, concerning water use efficiency, did you consider only fruit production or total biomass?
Yes, we measure the vegetative growth. I think he refers to this question, but also I refer that it's necessary to controlling the water deficit that we apply in non-critical periods, because we can produce a reduce of vegetative growth and then reduce yield, the kilos per tree, because we reduce the canopy of the trees. And then it's necessary to control this water deficit in non-critical periods, of course.
We have one more question. François Bertomeu, you have mentioned that you have developed an app for the farmers. And do you know how many hectares or how many farmers are using this control deficit irrigation in your orchards now?
Yes, in case of the Campo Teja irrigation community, around 3,000 hectares. We received a lot of visits from our website page of the project. We received around 2,000 or 3,000 visits per month during the whole project, and then I think that even the different farmers assist to the several journals, several jornadas, that reunions, meetings that we organize inside of the project. And I know that the irrigators community may be around 1,100 hectares, of course. I think that, I don't know if a full irrigation community, but I think that several hectares, several thousand hectares in this irrigated community.
Okay, thank you, Alejandro. It's very impressive to have so many farmers or so many fruit producers following your indications. So that's another way, of course, we can fight climate change just by using less water in these very, very high intensive production systems. Thank you, Alejandro. I think now it's time for moving to the next speaker.
Thank you, yes, Gerardo. We move on to the next project and last project, that is Life Adapt. It is going to be presented by Dr. Vicente Rodriguez Estevez from the University of Córdoba. Vicente is a vet. He worked as pig farmers consultant until 2004, when he began to work as researcher at the Animal Production Department of the University of Córdoba. Now he works there as associate professor, and he is the director of the group called Cátedra de Ganadería Ecológica Ecovalia, with the aim of transferring knowledge about organic and extensive farming to farmers and technicians. Besides, he is the coordinator of the LIFE project Life Adapt and the coordinator of other two European projects at the University of Córdoba, Interreg ProDehesa Montado and Horizon 2020 project entitled OCNET EcoFeed. Thank you, Vicente.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the invitation to present our LIFE project. And second, I apologize because I have another meeting at 1:30, so I'll probably I won't have time to answer the questions, but there are colleagues of mine at the meeting, at the workshop, and they could answer. All right. Can you see the screen, please?
Yes.
All right. Okay. This project is called Live Adapt, and the subtitle is Adaptation to Climate Change of Extensive Livestock Production Models in Europe. And it's the aim is to work with the south of Europe, Spain, Portugal, and France. The European contribution is 60%, and the total project budget is 2,200,000 euros. The objectives are demonstration of innovative technologies and practices for the adaptation of extensive livestock farms to climate change, identification, adaptation, and transference of best practices for the efficient adaptation of extensive livestock farms, definition of innovative updated farming businesses models, improvement in the promotion of extensive products as environmentally friendly and high quality products, and training and advice to farmers for the efficient adaptation to climate change through a dynamic course in an online platform. And finally, the definition of an action plan for the adaptation of extensive livestock production models in Europe, including a proposal for future policies. There are 8 partners, 5 from Spain, 2 from Portugal, and 1 from France. In the consortium are associations of farmers like FEDESA, environmental conservation organizations like Quercus in Portugal, and institutions working with farmers like IDEL from France. The University of Córdoba acts as coordinator of the project. Well, to start, we identified common needs and problems produced by climate change in extensive livestock farms. The first one was to have an official definition for extensive livestock farming, what is quite important for future policies. Using these common needs and problems, we work with our technical actions, and we share all this information with farmers in our workshops. We have found 16 main common needs and problems that I think is not necessary to show because most of them are quite well known, and I will concentrate the information, my speech, in the main of them. And we have contrast these problems with the scientific references, and most of them have the same importance for researchers that have for farmers. But we have discovered that, as you know, that this is a relatively new topic for researchers. As you can see here in this line of time, some of these problems have been recently received the attention of researchers. We show these problems to farmers, and we receive a punctuation from the farmers. For example, this is the last score we have, and with a punctuation out of 10, the main problems are related with water, secondly, with fodder and grass quality and production, and the following one is associated with temperature increase and the death of Quercus trees and the global increase of raw material prices in a common market. We carry on with a continuous online survey through the internet where farmers can participate. And starting with water problems, this is the axiom C1 that has 3 sub-axioms. One of these is the design of a solution called water adapt, that is to collect water to have a reservation of water in tanks and subterranean tanks and cisterns, and to use this water through smart drinkers just to avoid the contact with wild animals to prevent, for example, tuberculosis, that is a very important disease for animals. We have worked with different collecting surfaces and materials and different designs. And the second or the third solution, because one of the other solutions was a smart drinker, is the solution called Pond Adapt, that is to reduce the evaporation of ponds. The material we use is based on low quality cork planks to avoid evaporation and the increase of temperature in the ponds. That is quite interesting to maintain a minimum microbiology or microbiological quality. And carrying on with the action C2, that is called climate change, pastures, biodiversity improvement in pasture quality, and biodiversity in extensive farms. It has 4 subtasks and is being implemented in 10 extensive livestock farms in Spain and Portugal. Here is the distribution of these pilot farms, and there are different typologies of farms with different types of vegetation. This is the general distribution. Most of them have the HESA, that is an agroforestry ecosystem, but we have different vegetation types. For example, woody areas, areas with agriculture, and so on. There are different typologies of farms. For example, this one has is mainly a HESA landscape, but there are others with a higher level of variation. All right, and we have different species, but mainly is sheep, the main species. And in this action, we have to demonstrate the influence of climate change on the main parasite cycles and their prevalence. We have to test alternative anthelmintic and management strategies to control parasites. And we have to improve the natural populations of dung beetle and earthworms. And finally, we had to work with fodder production and the reinforcement of the quality of meadow legumes of short cycle. If we look at the international bibliography, we can see that climate change is associated with parasite cycles, and in the last 15 years, and this is an important topic for animal health. If we consider that part of the life of the parasites is outdoors, and these cycles are affected by temperature and environmental humidity, it's important to control the influence of climate change in these cycles. So we have begun with sampling the different farms, analyzing stools, and we have, for example, this is the general survey of sheep, and we have found that 10% of the animals don't have any kind of infection at all. There isn't any kind of egg or larvae. And for example, if the level to treat animals would be necessary only in 17% of the animals. So we wouldn't need to treat all the flocks, all the farms It's a question of design, the treatments, and the calendar. Here we have examples of different farms, and we are controlling through data loggers. We are controlling the moisture of soil and the temperature of soil and the environmental temperature and humidity to know if it is necessary deworm and when should be necessary deworming. The idea is to design or to have a prevalence map and calendar for the south of for Spain and Portugal, and we have an open participation for farmers where they are invited to send samples to study the prevalence in the whole peninsula. Another task is to look for alternative antihelminthics, because we know that the main antiparasite drugs that is called ivermectin is destroying and killing the dung beetle populations, and this is something quite well known in the last 30 years. So we will use alternative antihelminthic using medicinal plants with the animals grazing natural shrubs like Cistus or Erica heather species, and cultivated plants like chicory, and at the same time we will use a fungus that predates nematodes larvae. We are doing different tests to know the efficiency of these alternative treatments, and the third task is to improve the native dung beetle populations, because in a healthy habitat we would find that these insects can destroy the dungs in around 6 hours, but these populations are quite affected through the use of these drugs a long time. We are studying the populations in the pilot farms, and we are studying at the same time the beetle activity, and we have an open participation through sending us photographies of and with a methodology to analyze photographies to know the dung beetle activity. Also, we have a collaboration and an agreement with the Consejo Superior de Investigaciones Científicas, that is the main council for researching in Spain, to breed some species, the main species, to try to reinforce the natural populations in some farms. Also, we have to improve the earthworm natural populations using different techniques to breed them and to recover the biology of the soil in the pasture lands. The last task in this action sheet 2 is to study the fodder production and to reinforce the meadow legumes and other grasses of short cycle. We will use different species that have a short cycle and a high quality as fodder. And these are not the typical species we use to improve grasslands, but don't need too much water, and is a very important alternative in this situation of short rain and a higher level of I don't remember the word, aridez. We have divided the research areas in the pilot farms, and we are controlling. We have 10 exclusion cages in every farm, and also we are controlling the moisture and temperature of the soil to control the influence of precipitations, temperature, and on fodder production. In Action C3, we are transferring the best practices we have found through our workshops and meetings. At the moment, we have 65 good practices identified, and we are transferring this information through technical cards where the farmers can find different information. For example, the text, if it is necessary, technical advice, advantages, limits, cost, and so on. And we are using this information for Action C5, where we will transfer all this information through one open course in an advice platform through the internet. We have all the structure of this course, but this is one of the last actions of the project. Another important action is to study or to improve the economy and marketing of the extensive livestock products. And one of the actions has been to define and to look for adapted businesses models for the new climate change scenario. And we proposed 3 models: a joint venture model, an e-commerce integration model, and a short supply chain with e-marketing solutions. And finally, the Action C6 is climate change, social participation, and policies. And the idea is to involve key actors and the society in the elaboration of a set of recommendations addressed to competent authorities for the implementation of action plans to promote the adaptation of extensive livestock farms to climate change. That's all. Thank you very much. I apologize for the speed, and we have 3 or 4 minutes to answer questions if you have anyone.
Well, thank you, Alejandro, for your nice presentation and for the approach you have to improving the extensive systems in the southern area of Europe. I have here a question from Jean-François Bertomeu from the CCC project. The plants you are using for improving health or the pastures can be invasive plants?
No, all of them, that is a very good question. All of them are natural plants in the areas. So our action will be to reinforce the populations, but all these plants are part of the natural flora of the areas.
Very well. I have myself another question. I know that you mentioned that you are developing leaflets with the best practice to be used by the farmers. Do you know how much are they applying those advice you give in the leaflets?
Well, at the moment we don't have that information, but because we haven't received the feedback from farmers. I think that is the answer. If I understood your question.
Yes, yeah, that was the question. If you knew, you have some feedback on that information.
No. We have designed a system to have a feedback, but the first cards were online since during this time of coronavirus. So at the moment we don't have had workshops or any meeting with farmers to have the feedback.
Okay, thank you, Vicente. And I know also that that you have a couple of years still to go with the project. So for sure, in the future, you will just get much more feedback and more results with regard to the project. So thank you for being with us this morning, and hope you are in time for the next meeting. Sorry for the delays.
Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Vicente.
Well, in the meeting, there are several colleagues of mine, Ahmed and Santos. So if you have any question, they can answer because they work in the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. Bye.
Thank you, Vicente. Well, I think that's all. I don't know, thank you so much to all lecturers and participants. And we hope that the workshop has been interesting and informative for you. And to conclude, Gerardo Vesca from Naker will say some words to close the event. Gerardo.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. Yeah, on behalf of Naker as organizer of this workshop with the support of DEX, I would just like to closure very quickly the workshop we have had this morning. First of all, I would like to thank really to all the speakers because of the effort of sharing with us the results of their projects, and also a lot of good lessons they have learned in their projects that we can apply for the future projects in which we work. Also, of course, the idea of CCC, of capitalizing results of projects, I think it is a very good idea in the sense that we have seen many good projects, many good results, and of course our work is to make those results more visible into the work we are working into CCC. So thank you. Thanks also to the audience because being with us all the time along this morning, it has been 3 hours and a half now. So thank you for being here with us and also for your questions. And I think that all of us can take a lot of ideas back to our normal work coming from these projects. And I would like also to let you know that on CCC, we will keep working with more projects. So please check the webpage of CCC and you can see more projects being highlighted in our webpage. Besides that, I would like to say that we have seen many good practices, many ideas to face the risk of climate change, just trying to mitigate the effect of climate change and also trying to adapt to climate change. In some of the crops, I guess it's easier to adapt, and maybe in others it's easier to mitigate the climate change effort. For example, forestry, I guess carbon in soils in forestry have a huge impact on mitigation, so that's a very good opportunity. And saving water, as we have seen in several of these projects, is also another good way of mitigating climate change and adapting, of course. I just would like to say one more thing. We are going to send a formulary to all the audience so we can get feedback about the workshop to try to improve for the next workshops we will be organizing. And also we will send the video that has been recorded along this morning, so you can take a look again to the workshop. Besides that, I thinking on the time we are Friday and at this time, so I would like to wish you like a nice weekend and nothing else in my part. Thanks to all of you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Merci Gerardo, merci Jonas, merci à tous, and hope we will organize many work like that. I really appreciate, and we are saving the planet, continuing to work all together, and that's fantastic. Merci.
Thank you,
Thank you to everybody. Thanks, Gerardo.
Of course, thanks to all of you for being with us this morning. It has been very interesting.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot.